Hey everybody, it's Kakarot. I just recently posted a video of me climbing to 2400 in solo shuffle while playing Feral on a controller, and I got a few questions about my UI, my add-ons, weak auras, and even just how playing on a controller works. So I thought I'd make a quick video about it, covering as much as I can, as quickly as I can, to hopefully answer everyone's questions. Just briefly, I'm playing on a controller because I suffered a pretty nasty shoulder injury just before Dragonflight launched while I was playing hockey, and that made it pretty painful to bring my arm up to the desk. So I had to find some new way to play the game, and that happened to be playing on a controller. I actually just had a second surgery yesterday to remove the plate that's been keeping my arm attached to my body while everything else is healed. So I'm slightly out of commission, certainly in no shape to queue up any competitive games. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to walk people through my setup. For anyone wondering, I probably will continue playing on a controller even after I heal fully, partially out of laziness because I don't want to have to relearn new binds again. And partially just because Feral actually feels really good on a controller now that I've got the hang of it. So, without further ado, the biggest difference between my setup and the typical UI setup is going to be what you see here at the bottom of my screen. This all comes from the add-on console port, including this nice little class art, which is totally optional, but I think looks pretty good. I play on a PS5 controller, so I get 4 sets of 10 binds. Those 10 binds come from the D-pad, R1, R2, and the 4 symbol buttons. And then if I hold down L1, those 10 binds change. If I hold down L2, I get a third page. If I hold down L1 and L2 together, I get a fourth page for 40 main binds, which is frankly more than I expected to have when I was first considering how to play on a controller. I've been pleasantly surprised, honestly, and have not really felt like I needed more binds. One thing to note specific to druids and other stance-based classes, when I switch into feral form, for instance, some of these binds change. So you'll see in no form, I've got Mark of the Wild on circle, Wrath on triangle, and even regenerating on square, just because I didn't have anything else to put there. When I switch to Feral, those change to Feral abilities, because that's how I've set up my binds. Just to give a brief insight so that you can kind of see what I'm thinking of when I set up these binds. I've got, with no modifiers, square and circle are rake and shred, my single target combo point generators. Triangle and R1 are bite and rip, my single target finishers. And then if I hold down L2, rake becomes brutal slash, shred becomes thrash, and rip becomes primal wrath. So for those buttons, like L2 is my AoE modifier, essentially, right? So you can still set these up as in a very logical way. There are other binds too that don't show up on the action bar. First, there's the utility ring, which I have bound to L1 plus L2 plus X. And this, first of all, will have the extra action button if you're ever doing a quest or if you're doing like the Tuscaran soup and you get all these extra action buttons. Those show up here at the top. Otherwise, I've got Mark of the Wild, my Hearthstone, I've got mounts if I need it, and just as a side note, mounts, dragon riding especially feels pretty cool playing on a controller. Kind of feels like that's how that bit was meant to be experienced. So anyway, that utility ring doesn't really show up on my binds, although it is here down at the bottom, you can see. Other things that don't show up on the binds, though, are these 3 buttons, which have been incredibly key to me. I play on a controller that has paddles on the back, and so I've rebound those paddles to this big, large middle button, which I have bound to tab targeting. And then I believe this button is called Share, and this button is called Options on a PlayStation controller. And these are my arena targeting buttons. And so these are bound again to paddles on the back of my controller. And so without any modification, the options button is focus arena target 1. With L1 held down, it focuses arena target 2. With L2 held down, it focuses arena target 3. And then this share button, if I ever really need to lock on to the nearest enemy player, I can press the paddle that is bound to that button. On that note, the way targeting works on a controller is it takes a lot of getting used to. It's a soft targeting where you target essentially what you're pointed at. It does lock on a little bit, but it's not anything like sticky targeting. If you face away from your target too much, you will probably target something else unless you have tab targeted or targeted the nearest enemy player in order to kind of lock on and get that sticky targeting. It can be a hassle, but once you get the hang of targeting, life becomes slightly easier for a controller player. With all of that said, I think I'm going to go through a solo shuffle round and just show a little bit of it in action while giving you somewhat of a breakdown so that you can understand what's going on my screen. So I wanted to go over a solo shuffle round so that I could explain some UI elements as they come up. I specifically chose a lobby with a shaman in it so that I could talk about the raid cursor feature that's a part of console port. So the first thing that's going to happen here is I buff our party using my utility ring, get Mark of the Wild up, and then I switch to my shaman build. And my shaman build just takes Snoopy's AoE solo shuffle cleave build, which is absolutely fantastic. Takes that, it drops a few defensives so that I can get remove corruption. And then you can see right here in the right corner, just above my arena frames, my enemy arena frames, is this little circle. And it doesn't match very well with S Arena. It should be hovering kind of directly over the middle of this plate, but oh well. I never use it for enemy targeting anyway, so it's not really an issue. But this is called Console Port's Raid Cursor, and it shows up if I press the PlayStation button that's right in between the joysticks on my controller. What I use it for is friendly targeting. So I'm about to hit the D-pad to the left, bring it over here, and have it highlight our friendly healer Guybanger. Just in case the shaman ever casts Hex, which I believe in this round he never does, then I can use my Remove Corruption Bind and immediately dispel my healer. So there you see, I switched it over. It's now highlighting Guybanger, and I'm ready to dispel a Hex. Very, very simple. And I don't need like an Arena 1, 2, 3 macro or anything like that. So I can save on a few binds for it. It also allows me to really not have to kick Hex. Instead of pressing the bind to kick, I can press the PlayStation button as the cast is going off. I can get that raid cursor right up and be ready to Hex. The raid cursor is about to go away because while it's up, the functionality of the D-pad without any modifiers goes away because the D-pad becomes the controlling function for the raid cursor. So that's a little bit of a sticky thing to have to navigate, but I wanted to show that off a little bit. So we get into this match. I'm on the shaman, and one thing to note here, if you look at kind of how I'm moving, this is going to show how controller movement works when you have a target. With my nameplates, this little glow, which I should probably boost, but is enough for right now to see what's going on. This little glow shows you that I am targeting Torchic, which, by the way, fantastic name for an Elisham. These hash marks here show you that I have the priest as my focus target. So I'm ready to focus bash him or focus maim if I need to. Um, but as I move around here, you'll see that I'm strafing and even at times backpedaling. But that is the controller's effort to keep me facing my target, Torchic, at all times. So you can see that it's kind of unnatural. I'm snapping a little bit. Because of the positioning and the way I'm facing, I didn't get a great Typhoon there, but that's okay. We're still getting good pressure out. I'm ready to focus bash, although it wasn't the best. Wasn't paying attention to my DRs. That noise there is, I believe, the skill-capped enemy CDs weak aura. Just lets you know that they are pressing big buttons. Here's one, here are two actually, weak auras that I absolutely love. This totem nameplate weak aura, highly recommend. It highlights important totems, it highlights obelisk, it highlights war banner, it highlights Scyfiend. Scyfiend especially is a huge boost. And then this weak aura just popped up, and I don't know if you heard the sound yet, but if not, it's coming through. It's that radar sound. And this lets me know that my healer is in CC, an absolutely essential weak aura for something like solo shuffle, in my opinion. Other UI elements, this weak aura is the Druid Afinar pack. It actually includes this down here as well. These on the side are Omni CD. I have big debuffs. And this is Zaryu's S Arena pack. And I believe that is essentially it for the rest of my UI. That kick sound that you hear is actually, I did not get very many good Typhoons off in this match. That kick sound that you hear is something that I added actually to Afinar's Druid pack. It is the sound for proccing my Apex Predator bite. So you heard it there. I have an Apex proc ready to go. And yeah, we're just gonna run this shaman down if I remember correctly. Oh, there's an interesting, I believe that I get knocked off here. Yes, so I get knocked off here. And you'll see my target is still Torchic. I shift to get out of the root. But as I'm trying to run up these stairs, I end up backpedaling because my target is up here and he's kind of about to move here, which makes the angle a little bit difficult. So you can see I am backpedaling in my silly bear form. This is something that just happens on controllers sometimes. A little frustrating, but such is life. I didn't lose too much time, didn't lose too much uptime. Finally get a decent Typhoon, get them out of the dome for a second, and we're able to secure the kill. So that's a bit of the UI in action. I hope that this video overall is helpful for anyone who is thinking about something like this, thinking about making a switch to something like a controller, or just to hopefully show people that you don't have to play this game the way that it was meant to be played. And if there's something that's going to help you get over whatever hurdles you're facing, go for it. It definitely can be done, and there are tools out there. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you when I'm back for my Legend video.